Today, I would like to teach you how to do synthetic division with the following example of x raised to the fourth plus x raised to the third minus 3x squared minus 2x plus 1, which is all being divided by now x plus 1. So the first step is locate your dividend, which is the term to the left of that division symbol, and locate the highest power of x, 4, that is in this problem. Add 1 to it, and that will tell you 4 plus 1 is 5. That will tell you then how many columns you need here to the right-hand side of this little black, solid line thingamajig. All right? So what we're going to write in here is we're going to have 5 coefficients. Okay? So we got to make sure that our polynomial function here has 5 coefficients in it, which it does, right? It'll have one coefficient in the front here, another coefficient here. This is the third, this is then the fourth, and this is then the fifth. Okay. If one of those values were to be missing, imagine this value were missing, what you would have to do is you would have to then add back into that equation 0x squared. In other words, you have to find the coefficient of your x squared term, which in that case, I should say, would be 0. All right. So just in case the problem changes on you. So let's just write in the coefficients. The coefficient of the x to the fourth term is going to be a 1. The coefficient here is a positive 1 as well. The coefficient here is a negative 3. Take that sign into account. We're taking these positive signs also into account, so that's a positive 1 in front. But I'm not going to write the positive sign in just to keep things a little, less cluttered. And then your x term here is going to be a negative 2. And then the constant term is going to be a 1. And you have to plug it in decreasing order. X to the fourth coefficient, x to the third, x to the second, etc. Okay? Then, that's done. Your dividend is finished. Now you got to focus on your divisor. Take your divisor there, x plus 1, set it equal to 0, solve this bad boy for x. So this is going to be x is equal to negative 1. And what that negative 1 is going to tell you is going to tell you the value that's going to get plugged in here to the outside of that synthetic division table. Now that you have the entire first row filled out, now you can finally do the procedure. This is pretty simple from here. Take the first term, drop it all the way down, just rewrite it at the bottom. That's why there's kind of a red box here. You're not going to do anything to that. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take this bottom term, and multiply it by the term on the outside. So 1 times negative 1 is going to be a negative 1. And that value there gets plugged into that adjacent cell. Okay? Then what you're going to do is simply add these terms together in that column. So 1 minus a 1 is going to be a 0. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take this term now and multiply it by the outside term. So 0 times negative 1 is going to simply be a negative 1, and that gets plugged into the next adjacent cell. Then you're going to add these terms together in that column, and that's going to be a negative 4. Then repeat the procedure. Take the negative 4, multiply it by the negative 1. That's going to give you a positive 4, and that number gets plugged into the next adjacent cell. Add these two numbers on together, and that's going to be a positive 2. Repeat the procedure. Take the 2, multiply it by the negative 1 for a total of negative 2. Plug it into the next adjacent cell there, add these terms on up in that column, and that's going to result with a negative 1. Cool. Now, consider what these values represent. Your remainder value will always be on the rightmost side. Then this is the constant. Then this is your x coefficient. Then this is your x squared coefficient. This is your x cubed coefficient, and ... The pattern would continue depending upon how many columns you have in your table. Hopefully you don't have anything greater than this, otherwise you'd be here all day. So, before I start now writing out, and before I confirm that these are indeed my coefficient values, I have to look back at my divisor, and I have to notice the value, the coefficient of that x term in the divisor. Whatever that coefficient is, in this problem it's a 1, whatever it is, you're going to take now the values, not the remainder though, and you're going to divide each of them by that value. In this problem, since it's a 1, dividing something by 1 doesn't do anything. So that's sometimes why it's not even taught. So that's why I'm showing you this particular method. If this now were a 2 in front, it was a 2x. Okay, you would have still done the same thing. This would have been a 2x, and you do your algebra. Okay, and then down here you would have divided everything by 2. You don't do it to the remainder. Please remember that. Okay, so now going back, this would be the constant. This is your x term. This is your x squared coefficient. And this is then your x cubed. Okay, so now we thought through it. It's dividing by 1, so we don't really have to do it, but I still want you to think about it. Now we have all of our coefficients and the remainder. So now what we're going to do is write it out. This is a 1x cubed, so I'll write 1x cubed. Then this is plus 0x squared. I'm going to write everything out, plus 0x squared. Then there's going to be minus 4x. Then there's going to be a plus 2. And then you get to your remainder, okay? And it's a minus 1. Now, whenever you get to your remainder, I don't care what the value is. Whatever the sign is, plug it in, okay? And if it's no sign, then that assumes to be positive. And then you're going to take the value of that remainder, 1, and you're going to put it over whatever your divisor is, okay? From here, after you set this whole thing up, just simplify it as best as possible. If you don't have a remainder, if your remainder is 0, you would have plugged in a 0 up here. And guess what? 0 divided by anything just cancels, right? So you have a set procedure now to follow. In case the problem changes, you won't be lost, okay? Now just simplify. You don't need the 1 in front of the x. How did that become x squared, by the way? That's x cubed. I'm just seeing if you're paying attention. That's x cubed. So now just simplify everything, okay? So now you're going to have x cubed. 0 times x squared is just nothing, so leave it out. Minus then 4x plus 2 minus then 1 over x plus 1. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Here's your quotient. Okay, there's your quotient. And that's what it should be equal to. So when you take this thing, right, and you divide it by this thing, you're going to get this thing, right? When you take your dividend and you divide it by your divisor, you get your quotient. I love the language of mathematics. Thanks very much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. I'd also love if you can like and subscribe, and even better, tell some of your classmates. All right, that's the best way to help us out. We want to grow so we can help more people. And by the way, we have thousands of videos out there. So if you're doing chemistry or physics as well, in addition to mathematics here, or at some point, don't forget about us, because we have thousands of practice examples out there. Remember, on your test, you're going to see specific problems. And that's what we try and teach you. How to perform specific problems. We try to teach the concepts through the problems. Okay, we try to teach you how to become a better problem solver. Check us out. I think you'll be very happy. Take care.